Hello and welcome to another Atypical Philosopher video with myself, Jonathan M.S. Pearce. This is a walk through the front lines on October the 5th, 2022. What has been happening in the Ukraine war? A Ukraine war update. Well, there have been fairly similar figures, somewhat less than the last few days, but still high for the Russians. Ukraine is claiming around 600 troops were killed, 8 tanks, 21 APCs, so that's pretty high. 4 artillery systems, so a bit of a drop in a few of the other figures, but still pretty damaging. In fact, today we hit 75,000, as according to the Ukrainians. After 6.5 months, 50,000 were killed. So 6th of September, 50,000, and just basically what 2 months later, another 25,000. So it's been a really costly month for the couple of months for the Russians. Yesterday, there were claims that 11 Shahed 136s, 3 other drones, 2 cruise missiles, and 2 Ka-52 attack helicopters were shot down. So not a great day to be in a Russian Air Force, I guess, yesterday. It's been a pretty quiet night, though there have been drone strikes, but without much effect. There's lots of footage of Gepards shooting at them in the dark. So you can watch them if you want. But yeah, basically a pretty quiet night. Not a lot of change on the fronts either. So if we go over to the northeast front, these Kupiansk Svatove-Kreminna fronts, down from Kupiansk to Kreminna there have been a few claims, hot fighting still going on around the Persia-Travnevi area and Orliansky. As I said yesterday, this is Kupiansk here. There are some claims. Russians, I think, admit that Berestove is now under Ukrainian control. Well, it has been really for some time, as has been reflected in my map. Lots of fighting going on pretty much all the way down here. There was an interesting piece on War in Ukraine's video today on why it's taking the Ukrainians so long to take over Russian defenses, and because they're so well dug in, and explaining how you've got a line of mines, then dug in troops in a tree line, then a line of mines behind that, then you got earthen dug in, and then you've got tanks and APCs, and then behind that you got artillery. And basically, it's really difficult to overcome that, particularly down in the Kherson area. And this explains why it's taking Ukraine such a long time, and obviously having to clear out minefields and whatnot when they do take over areas. Russian claims that Novodvodiany and Makivka are under Russian control again, as there are lots of backs and forths. But then there's evidence that Ukrainian troops are around Ploshchanka. There's a really funky bit of footage. I'll just show you this. Whoa, sorry about that sound. So this is a pretty daring attack on a Russian tank, and this has been geolocated to Ploshchanka. So you have the Russian tank coming down here, and a guy coming out, a bloke coming out of the tree line with some form of launcher. Bang, in the back of the tank. Tank's taken out. Obviously, there's no sort of good enough quality video detail to find out what you're shooting with, but it's certainly something that doesn't have a minimum range, such as an NLAW, because I think that would have been too close for an NLAW to have been successful to hit, as we saw with some footage in, I think, Mariupol. Okay, so that has been geolocated to just outside Ploshchanka. In fact, I can show you exactly where that's been geolocated to. So that hit was there. There's Ploshchanka, there's Makivka. We have that particular tank getting taken out there, which is to say Russian tanks are operating there and Ukrainian blokes are hanging around in trees. So this is a bit of a grey zone. Which is kind of reflected by what I put here. We've got Russian line there, but Russian line here, but we have Ukrainian advance to there. So this is a contested area. Same to be said for Svatove-Popivka, that's supposedly abandoned now, but the Ukrainians are knocking on that door. Moves to the east still, down there. Bilorivka, a lot of activity going on in Bilorivka, but no map changes, as the Russians are trying desperately to take that. It's such an important area for control over this forested area, which the Ukrainians will be using themselves and apparently there is sort of news that there are reinforcements and they could be a threat to Kreminna. So we're moving quickly down to Bakhmut. Again, no change in Bakhmut. There are claims of fighting again in Soledar, Bakhmutsky, and Opitny. Some argument as to whether the Russians have Ivangrad just here. I've had it on basically on the line of the Russian territory for the last sort of week. We shall see, but no real changes, just fighting again. In fact, what does Noel have to say about this area? So that is Berestovi. The city of Kreminna, I just said, locals describe the situation as tense. Nobody is allowed to leave. There is no gas. Shops are looted. So that's there. And we're going to be moving down to Pavlivka in a second. So after being pushed back for several days, Russians reopened their attacks on Opitny, Bakhmutsky, and Soledar. Fighting in Soledar is tough as Russian forces have increased shelling. South of Bakhmut is under control. East of Opitny is the front line, exactly what I just said. So that's good that we agree there. Okay, let's move to, we're going to move down to Vodyanye. And so we have New York, fighting going on north of Avdivka. Why is my mouse being odd? Russians are trying to do this encirclement of Avdivka, but there is, we talked quite a bit about Vodyanye and Opitny, just south of Avdivka. There is geolocated evidence that Russians have been hit south of Vodyanye. So that's pretty interesting. So where do I have that? Let me just find the right one. Sorry about this. Here we go. Yes. So this is the one. This is interesting for a whole bunch of reasons. I was going to talk about this in the extra, but let's just do it now. So here we have some IFVs, infantry fighting vehicles, APCs. So that IFV has been hit. There was some kind of, I don't know whether that's a mine. So that's been hit, and then there is artillery strikes going on. And what's interesting is these two behind just stop. Like, I'd be like wanting to be on the move, and then instead of like driving away, so getting back onto that road and driving away, these guys all just get out of the vehicles and then are susceptible to shrapnel off these artillery hits. And then over time, both of these vehicles get completely taken out because everyone's got out of them and run away. I find this quite odd. And I see this quite a lot with the Russians. Their first reaction is get out, run away, because you're a sitting target. But I don't understand how these guys were sitting targets. As soon as this guy was hit, these guys could have reversed back onto there and driven away. Instead, they're now all on foot and they've lost all of their vehicles because all of the vehicles get taken out because they abandon the vehicles straight away. I don't know. I'm sure someone with more military knowledge than myself can let me know why that is. But the Russians have certainly learnt that the safest thing to do for them is to get out and run. Whether in this situation that was wise is I don't know, open to debate. But now they have lost all of these vehicles, and there's a strong possibility that those fleeing were hit by shrapnel from falling munitions. Anyway, so that was the last one, and the flight. Look at how far pieces of that vehicle went. Anyway, that's that. That's been geolocated to the south of Vodyanye, exactly here. So just to let you know, you've got the airport running along there, and you've got this field line here. This is apparently where that looks like the road, the main road that they were coming off, and that's where they were hit. So Vodyanye, that's just down here. Basically, that's to say that just because the Russians have control of this area doesn't mean that their mechanized equipment or troops are not under a lot of risk of being hit, as you can see from that. There is some talk to say that Pervomaisky, there's a bit of move from the Russians in Pervomaisky, and they're taking some ground there, but it will only be meters. As we come down here, Marinka is under a lot of pressure, but it is also very well dug in. There is sort of house-to-house fighting, but there's also footage to show that it is pretty apocalyptic around there. There is, as far as I understand, no one living there anymore. It's well deserted, so this is just yeah, your typical urban warfare, and costly, no doubt, for both sides. But certainly to advance for the attacking side, you want at least a 6 to 9 to 1 ratio to attack somewhere like that. Okay, let's move on down to Pavlivka, which is, yeah, a lot of talk about Pavlivka. Same sort of stuff going on. I haven't taken away those pins, so that's all the stuff from yesterday. What has been happening is the claims that, and I'm going to do a bit of editing now, live editing here. So there are now claims that seem pretty substantial and believable that actually the Russians are now south of Pavlivka. So they've moved back out, and it didn't go very well for them. How do we know this? Well, let's show you a few bits of evidence. So this is a verified geolocated footage of of a Ukrainian vehicle, some kind of, I don't know, APC or infantry fighting vehicle, not 100% sure. Or it could just be an MRAP or some kind of armored vehicle. Anyway, driving, it's a vehicle driving down a road. Basically, there's footage of this guy that is, as I say, being confirmed, driving down this road here. So it comes all the way down here and freely drives right the way, through town. So that shows you that there is no Russian. There's just absolutely unaffected by any Russian pressure at all driving down there. Then there is another. Where am I? Sorry about this. There is another claim that, or there is more evidence. This is a Russian tank T-80 being caught by the Amiga group, so the Special Forces group in Pavlivka. This has been geolocated further down this thread to central Pavlivka, or what's left of it. So that's been a pretty devastated Pavlivka, and you can see the geolocation that's taken place. So that is central Pavlivka. A Russian T-80 tank has been taken. So they were in there attacking, and it appears that they have now got out of Dodge. And that's some supporting evidence for that. So it's not just me saying that. There is visual confirmation that is the case. So that appears to be a failed attack by the Russians on Pavlivka. What does Noel have to say about that? Remember what I said about Pavlivka offensive. Today, Russian sources confirmed that their forces retreated south of Pavlivka. They took a heavy beating after Ukraine got reinforced, especially the Russian 155th Marine Infantry Brigade was crushed. So that's the claims from Noel. Anyway, as we go further along the line, so let's zoom out. Oh, that's so annoying. I wish it wouldn't do that. Sorry for those visually watching this. I don't know how you can non-visually watch something, but I'm sure you'll let me know. So as we go towards Zaporizhzhia, not aware of too much going on, and in fact not aware of much going on in Kherson. Doesn't seem to be any territory moving on either side. The War Mapper map has updated a bit of territory confirmed as being liberated by the Ukrainians, but it turns out that really that was abandoned weeks ago by the Russians anyway, as I explained yesterday. You can see this red area on the War Mapper map, decreasing gradually as the confirmed Russian controlled areas get smaller and smaller. The pink area is the kind of contested grey zone. Having said that, again, not a lot of claims about Kherson. Let's go back to what Noel says. No map changes. Fighting reported around Bruskinsky and Kachkarivka. Russian forces imposed a 24-hour curfew in occupied Kherson. Unconfirmed though. A pedestrian bridge. So there's been a lot of footage about this bridge in Snihurivka is confirmed destroyed. It's clear something is looming in Kherson. So this is Snihurivka here. The pedestrian bridge just appears to indicate that the Russians are doing a kind of scorched earth. So getting ready to retreat out of there. That's expecting an impending attack from across the river. Otherwise, if you were confident you were A, going to hold on to this, and B, push back and take territory yourselves as the Russian forces, you wouldn't be blowing up bridges, because actually that doesn't help you going forward in maintaining control over this area. So blowing up bridges is a sign of just about to retreat. So that's why that was a particularly important point that lots of people were making yesterday with regard to that bridge. Anyway, not a lot of other changes. Things will probably become clearer throughout the day. It is fairly early Saturday morning for me. And those are the claims that have come out earlier from the lines yesterday after they finish. Remember, it is getting darker earlier now, and that will affect the amount of time one can fight in Ukraine. So whereas in the summer months you'd be able to engage until, I don't know, 9 o'clock, for example. Now that's going to be 4:30, and then it starts getting dark. I don't know the exact times at the moment, but you get the point that actually the fighting days are shorter, and so not as much will be happening. That's not something I've heard anyone particularly talk about, but it seems pretty logical to me. Anyway, there you go. Thank you for your support. Thanks to the new members on board. Please continue to like, subscribe, share, and also there are ways to support the channel, such as buy me a coffee in the description below, or PayPal, or whatever. Or you can indeed buy some stash. Go to uasupporter.com/ATP. The /ATP is the important bit. And hey, let's check out some stuff that you can get hold of. Let's look at drawstring bags. There you go. You can get a drawstring bag to show your support for Ukraine. Lots of different designs. Please do so, and a small bit of commission will go to support my channel. Anyway, thank you, Toodle Pips, and I'll see you later for the Ukraine War Update Extra video.